So it's but what we're going to talk about today is actually borrowed from our Catholic siblings. So complicated relationships with that fellow, many gifts that they have, and also many challenges and much. So I hope that you can go with me where we're going. So tomorrow is Halloween. And in the Catholic, it is known as All Saints Day, All Souls Day. And then November is known as All Saints Day. Two very different rituals within that faith tradition, but both have us contemplate what is our relationship with those who have died. It is a time, this time of year, where we think about spirits and we think about ghosts and we think about death. In many spiritual traditions, this is the time of year where the veil is thinnest and we are the most connected to those who have gone before. So All Souls Day is a time to remember those who have died in the previous calendar year. I often think of it as the funeral you didn't get to attend, a chance to think, to grieve, and to let go of those we have lost, usually in the last year. All Saints Day, the next day, is a question of legacy. Who is it that has gone before us, that has made us who we are? Who are those saints of the faith that we are following their path? Who is it who has poured into us? Both are a time to think about how we got to here. Who has been along that path? Who has left that path? And how are we carrying their memory forward? The funeral we didn't get to attend. This reading, specifically from the Gospel of John, is from a section of that book called the Discourses. So in the narrative of John's story, Jesus, it's like 4 chapters, which is a pretty significant chunk of the overall book of John. But it all takes place in one spot, and that is right before Jesus is arrested and eventually executed. So it's basically, the joke I like to make is that it's like teachers at finals season, taking those last 2 class periods to try to jam in everything they ever taught a student in the course of an entire semester. So Jesus, I kind of imagine him right at the Last Supper. Everyone's gathered around. It's this incredible, beautiful, intimate place where he's with his friends. And he's like, all right, listen up, y'all. I'm about to not be here with you. And so if you have to remember anything, remember these things. And so then there's like multiple chapters of Jesus just kind of laying it out there. Both what he came to do, to love this world with a revolutionary love that changed everything, and also to prepare his disciples for how they were to carry on after his death, to continue to love deeply and trust that the movement of God's Spirit would be with them, to remind them, just like they're trying to fill out their Scantron and can't remember the right answer, that the Spirit of God would move within them and remind them of all the things that Jesus had taught them. It's a beautiful, tender moment that talks about the point between when Jesus left and when the disciples would join Jesus in the presence of God. That's where we are. There is not one person in this room who has not lost somebody at some point. Maybe it is just a friendship that your paths diverged. Maybe it is someone you have lost to death, but there is a point where you were together and a point where you are not. We are here, somewhere in that middle, after loss and before reunion. This is a liminal space where the Spirit moves and where we are stewards of memory. There is a phrase or a saying that says, I am made up of everyone I have ever interacted with. I have been touched by people. Their fingerprints are on me. Some of those are fingerprints I treasure. Some are ones I wish I would never have experienced, but I am made up of all those experiences I've ever had. Here in that liminal space, between loss and between reunion, we get to choose. What do we do with those stories? How do we steward them? How do we understand them? How do they shape us? How do we allow ourselves to be changed because we have been in relationship? How is the Spirit moving? Bringing back old memories, gifts from our past. What do we need to set down because they no longer serve us? This is the question of stewardship. I used to get kind of cranky at funerals because no one ever told the truth, right? It's always the bright, shiny version of whoever that person was. No one ever talked about when they were in a bad mood. No one ever talked about their broken relationships. No one really ever talked about those things that we would rather keep in the shadow, right? Until I lost my mom. My mom and I had a conflicted relationship. She didn't think I was a real pastor because I didn't study Greek. I now understand the wisdom sentiment because I didn't study Greek and it's hard. But on her deathbed, it became very clear our conflicted relationship had been, it wasn't the important thing. The important thing was her love for me. The important thing was her wisdom. She'd worked in churches for a really long time and had a lot of wisdom about how to do this work, even though she was never ordained. She should have been. And at those moments, those liminal moments between when and where I am now, between when our paths separated and when we will be reunited again, I get to choose. That's what happens when we don't tell the full truth at a funeral. We are choosing what story to tell. How are we going to steward the memory of this person? How have we been who we are by them? And what are we going to hang on to about them? That's what it means to steward memory, to choose what story to tell, to claim those things that have made us who we are. I have a picture of my mom. For all she was, this is how I choose to remember her. With a cupcake in sheer delight. I want her joy. I want to keep it. That's the story I'm going to tell. That's the memory I'm going to steward. This is the funeral we never got. The chance to claim a story, to recognize that we aren't doing this by ourselves. She taught me a lot of what I know about pastoring. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. She has made me who I am, for better and for worse. We've all been shaped and formed. And now, through the movement of the Spirit, we get to be reminded. What are the stories? What are the memories? What are we taking with us? That's what All Saints' Day is about. All lets us grieve. All Saints lets us remember. And so you bring something that represented a loved one. We have set people to receive all of these pictures and all of these memories. Haven't brought something. There are candles and there are note cards for names. Bring the memories. Let us steward them together. Now on the note card, there are Sharpies here. We have a cork board. Claim the gift that you are taking with you because your ancestors have been who they are. Us white folks don't tend to like to talk about our ancestors a lot. It's something that we robbed ourselves of. Our lineages, the strength of our cultures, it's something that we lost in white supremacy. This is a chance to claim what your ancestors gave you. Every good thing is needed now. So may the Spirit, the advocate, the friend, move within you as you claim your people, your lineage, your ancestry, the gifts of those who have made you who you are. We have had 2 losses in our midst this year. Within one day of each other, 2 folks. So a candle for Nancy, for her love and her courage and her fierce sense of morality. And a candle for Pamela, daughter of Phil Puterbaugh, for her creativity and her faith. We started today's worship in the presence of love. Those people who are currently traveling this path with us, those who are coming after us, and those who we have inherited this time and this place from. And so as we close today, let's spend a few more moments in the presence of that love. May we steward their memories well. May we hold fast to the gifts that they have offered us as we continue to make a future that they dreamed of. Amen.